Well, hello there, and welcome to an Ignite Press livecast. I'm excited today because we're launching a book for two very good friends of mine, and two, quite honestly, experts in the publishing industry. And it is an honor for me to launch this book and to be part of this process because, and I know it's easy to say that about any book and any author that we might help. But sometimes it's bigger than that, and that is one of these times today. And so what I would like to do is I would like to introduce to you two of my favorite people. Cathy Fyock and Allie Pleiter are launching their new book today, and that is Writer Crisis Hotline, the right solutions for authors. And so I'm just going to get these two wonderful powerhouses right in here now, so that we can have some fun with them. Cathy and Allie, welcome.
Oh, thanks so much. It's so exciting.
Great to be here. It's like buy one author, get one free, right? You get a dynamic duo today.
It's a BOGO.
It's a BOGO edition.
Well, what a great way to celebrate the partnership that you guys have developed over the last several years. And it is a blast. You guys have been working in the author community, the publishing community for so long now, and to see the two of you collaborate for this book, to launch this book, is just a joy. So we're going to get into the book, but I think for people who don't know you, I first want them to get to know you a little bit. So actually, I'm going to start with Allie. Would you please tell our viewers a little bit about your background? And don't be shy about it, because I know sometimes you can be shy about it.
Yes. My background is primarily in fiction. I've been an author for about 23 years. I have, at last count, I think we're at 65 books under my belt. So I've done a lot of writing and a lot of learning how to produce a book. And so I've done some coaching, and then when Cathy and I got together, we realized there was this perfect meshing of our two styles and our two backgrounds, so that I bring all of the fiction skills of storytelling and pulling together descriptive material. And so it was great fun to start putting together our two skill sets. And then we realized that the same kinds of questions that we were getting from our coaching clients, we could create this grab and go resource to help them get off their I'm stuck kind of thing. So that was my background, was as a working, writing, full-time author. That's what I bring to the table here.
Okay, for our viewers, I want our viewers to know that they're talking to a successful Harlequin romance author, a successful cozy mystery author, as well as book coach and writing resource and mentor. So I think it's important for people to understand that when you're talking about 65 books, you're not talking about 65 books that you wrote, you wrote in one day and put the ebook up somewhere, but that those, the vast majority are traditionally published, and that's such a big deal. So that's why I'm saying I don't want you to be shy about this. Now, so Cathy, I want you to tell our viewers about your background and your accomplishments, because they are not smaller. They are no less than
You're
that.
just different.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've been a book coach now for 10 years. It seems hard to imagine, but I started out being an author and consultant speaker in the human resources space. And when I was trying to figure out what I was going to be when I grew up, someone had suggested I think about being a book coach. And so I kind of stumbled into this work. But since then, I've written more books. This is my 12th book. Not anything like Allie's 65, but still 12 books, and the last 6 have been related to writing, authorship, and it's been so much fun collaborating. I think we both really enjoy the collaboration process. So this has been super fun in putting this book together because it's stuff we hear all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Well, and I don't want people watching to miss this too, that Cathy is extremely active in the National Speakers Association. In fact, when I met her, she was on stage at the national conference getting an award for the National Speakers Association. And she has helped a ton of speakers become speaker authors. And that, in fact, that's one of her brands, and has helped so many really gain the credibility, the authority, the attention, the excitement that comes with authorship. So this is why I think the two of you collaborating here is so really wonderful. So let's dive into the book. Now, before I go any further, though, I would be remiss if I didn't appropriately plug it. So first, let me let people know that the book is available right now on Amazon, where you can pick up the Writer Crisis Hotline. The Kindle is on a special launch price. It's 99 cents. If you are watching this on a replay or a recording, if it's in the next couple days, you may be fortunate enough to also get it at 99 cents. But trust me, it's worth it regardless of what you pay. But anyhow, the paperback and Kindle are online at Amazon today, and definitely recommend that you pick those up. All right. So let's dive into the book. So Writer Crisis Hotline. Cathy, why don't you share for me what inspired the two of you to write this particular book?
Well, it's interesting that so many times we are, not literally, but figuratively, talking our writers off the ledge, and they call us and they're stuck, or they can't move forward, and they just are feeling like at wit's end. And we hear the same kinds of things all the time from our authors. And I said, wouldn't it be fun to write a book that really addressed those issues? And because one of the things that authors don't realize is that they believe in writing because it is such a solitary activity. They think they're all alone and they're the only ones that are dealing with writer's block. They think they're the only ones. And what we think is so much fun, and we find this in our group coaching, is that they're so surprised when they learn that they are not the only one. So I think one of the reasons we wrote this book is not only to answer those questions, but to kind of normalize the feelings that many authors face, especially in writing their first book, but not necessarily just their first book. It could be their second or third, because these feelings often reemerge. And,
yes. Even after 60, it doesn't go away.
Really, after 60, 65 books, it doesn't go away? Gosh,
nope. There comes a point with every single book where I hate it. And it's so funny because people are so surprised to hear that. And I think, A, they're so surprised. And B, they're like, oh, so I'm normal. So that's the good thing. But then it's like, oh, it never goes away. And we're like, no, you have to make friends with it and move past it.
Okay, so I'm kind of cracking up here because I keep smiling so much while you guys are talking. My cheeks are already starting to get tired.
Job done.
You're just cracking me up. So, Allie, let's go to you. You said these perennial problems that keep coming up. What is it that sometimes one book you run into certain problems, another book you run into other problems, then some of those pop back up? Like I was looking here at some of the questions that you address. But actually, before we get into them, who specifically did you write this for? Is there a specific demographic, or who did you have in mind when you wrote this?
I think we had in mind every writer who's come up against this block. I think we all think that this, like, the inspiration is going to come and it's going to just flow out of us and it's going to be all, magic fingers typing chapters upon chapters. And then you hit this ridiculous block and you're stymied. So we were writing to that writer who hit a block that either they thought they weren't going to hit again, or they've hit for the first time. And then they think, that's it, I can't do this. And they throw up their hands. We wanted to give them, no, this is part of the process. It's okay. Find a way around it. You can keep going. So it was that sort of writer on the edge. I got an email this morning that said, chapter 19, are you psychic? Because she was in that spot. And so the writer at that moment, that sort of on the ledge moment, where it's like, look, it's okay. We all go through this. There is a path forward. So that's who we wanted to write for, to give them the path forward.
All right. And I'm going to bring this one to Cathy. I think so many people have this picture of writing, and I don't know if they think of this, everyone's got a different version of this, but it's like, for some people, it's like, oh, I'm going to set myself up in this nice, airy sunroom with a beautiful view and my, in an old-fashioned typewriter, and I'm, and a cup of coffee and blah, blah, blah. And then they get themselves, however they prep themselves and their space and everything like that. And then it's like, okay, now what? Right? It's like the now what? So let's hit the writer's block one. What kind of advice have you given people in the past for how to get started? Like, where do I begin?
Yeah, the where do I begin is a great question. I think it's really important to start with a strategic plan for your book that aligns, especially if you're a nonfiction author writing about your expertise. It should be linked to your business and linked to what you want the book to do for you. But to start out with the basics, what is the purpose for my book? What do I want it to do in my life, in my career, my business? Next is, what is the thesis statement? What is this book about? What's the focus? The third is, who is my reader? Who is that perfect person that needs this book, that needs solutions? And then what is the structure? What are the questions that I'm going to be answering, and how does that divide into chapters or whatever sections of the book make sense? So getting started with a strategic plan, I think, is one of the most critically important elements that usually will set many writers up for a lot of success by just having that roadmap set out.
Excellent. In the book, and I don't know which one of you want to answer this one, but I'm intrigued by the chapter, I am not an expert. That's what you've called the chapter. I am not an expert. Which one of you would like to address that?
Oh, well, I always think I'm an expert, so I'll let Cathy do that one.
Well, on my first book in particular, I had a mentor, and he was a wonderful mentor, and I always thought he should write the book on that topic. And so I was reluctant to write that book, even though no one had written a book. It was on the aging workforce. No one had yet written a book on the aging workforce. And I thought my mentor should, but my mentor wasn't going to write the book. So I think that was part of my imposter syndrome. I always thought that Greg should write the book, but Greg didn't write the book. He's never written the book. So I needed to write the book. So that is something that I dealt with on my very, very first book. That was really a huge hurdle for me to overcome.
Yeah, and I think of it in these terms, because people I know get that in that mode. It's that, who am I to write about this? Right?
Oh gosh, we hear that all the time.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I always, there's the other turn of the phrase of, well, who am I not to write about this?
Right.
But I think of it this way. I talk to our authors about this too. It's like, look, you don't understand. You are uniquely gifted to communicate to somebody out there. There's something about the way you the way you communicate, something about your background that your authors may connect with, or there's something in, there's this uniqueness about you, and there is someone else, their ears are uniquely tuned to hear your voice.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like the sheep, the baby sheep, the lambs can find their mother, in the flock, right? Just by the sound of their voice. I think that authors need to understand that there are people out there that will not hear the message if the author doesn't bring it. And so really, for those who fall into the trap of, I'm not an expert, who am I to share this? I'm not going to do this. They're stealing from their target, from their audience. They're stealing from the people that will be moved by that. So that always kind of, and we all have dealt with it, right? It is, definitely in that space. Allie, is there a part of the book that you have particular affinity to, or a favorite chapter or intervention that comes to mind? And it doesn't have to be the favorite, just a favorite.
Well, I think always my favorite is the one that talks about getting a writing process, creating a writing practice, because that really is my wheelhouse. A lot of writers, whether it's fiction or nonfiction or anything, think I can't put any structure around it. It'll squeeze all the art out of it, or I won't be able to be creative. And I absolutely believe the reverse is true, that the more structure you put around it, not only from Cathy's content standpoint, but from my knowing what you can write when you sit down, not if you really can only write, I'm all about the writing chunk. If you discover that when you sit down to write, you really only have about 1,000 words into you, well, don't set yourself up for failure by asking yourself to write 4,000 words. Once you know your process, then you can wield it and you set yourself up for success every time you sit down. And so turning that light bulb on for authors is the big excitement for me. And when they realize that system it's not somebody else's expectation to fight against, it's something that you can create and wield on your own behalf, and then they can move forward. So that's always my favorite part.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when that was something I learned from you at the retreat last year. So for our viewers, Cathy and Allie put on a fantastic retreat.
Awesome retreat.
Yeah, in the foothills outside Louisville, Kentucky, with the fall foliage and this beautiful retreat center, and a bunch of very talented writers and a bunch of talented would-be authors, right? Because not everybody's going; they're starting, right? Everyone, but I remember you talking about your chunky method for development and helping people define what their chunk is. How big their chunk is. And that was good. My chunks are usually 1,000 to 2,000 words. That's what I find. And if I sit down for an hour or two, that's usually what I'm going to come up with, depending on where I am in my process. And then that helps a ton, right? Because then I remember you taught us you can just schedule those chunks. You're like, okay, if this is my chunk, I know I need to have this many chunks. I know I need to have this many writing episodes, in general, and you could schedule yourself for success. And I thought that was, really, really very helpful. Now, a question came in from the audience here, and that is this. Malia asked, what is your best advice for those wanting to write a book who lack technical skills? I don't know which one of you want to answer this one. I know you're both qualified, so I am actually going to leave this to you to decide.
One of the things that I love to tell people is that writing is a skill that can be learned. Teaching and storytelling are the talents that are innate. So once you start from the place of what is it I want to share, I always tell writers, you are uniquely positioned to reach the person you once were before you gain the wisdom you want to share. So you know what it feels like to know that frustration or to want to tell that story. And so if you start from there and just write, then you can begin to learn the technical pieces of writing. All of those are skills that can be learned. That's why God gave us editors.
Yes.
So everybody needs to be edited. myself included.
Yay.
Times.
And not by themselves.
No,
Never.
oh heavens, no,
Never, never, never.
never. So it's that piece of it that if you have the story to tell, and I think even if the technical pieces aren't there, readers can tell the authenticity, they can tell your intent and your passion, and that'll come through. And then the rest of it you can fix.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting that you said that, because I think of it, I equate it to speakers. Sometimes you encounter someone who's the most talented, gifted speaker, but you don't feel authenticity come from them.
Mm.
And I completely disengage from that person.
Mm-hmm.
The flip side is someone who's not a particularly talented speaker, but is authentic. I'm in. I'm with them. And does that play out in writing as well? Do we sometimes see that play out?
I think so. I think that sometimes a problem that I see with many writers coming is they want to overthink the writing process. And so they're trying to write these little, say, gemstones of prose, that are just beautiful, instead of just getting out their thought or idea. And so one of the things that we always work with our clients on is to write with a timer. Give yourself less time than you need and just get it out, because chances are that if you allow yourself to do too much editing along the way as you're writing, it's going to be a very inauthentic piece versus just letting it go and then cleaning it up later. But yes, always cleaning it up later, but letting it go in the moment.
Because really, it's a conversation between you and the reader. We think of it as this big audience transaction, but it's really you and the reader. It's one-on-one. And if that reader hears you talking to them in your unique voice and the way that you would phrase it, not trying to be academic or professional or formal, they will
use all those big words.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And also, of course, the advice, yes, don't edit while you write. Just write.
No,
that's right.
Power all the way through the first draft. That is what I will always tell our clients to do.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so this is the Writer Crisis Hotline. So I'm going to call the hotline right now. Okay, I'm going to call the hotline right now.
Operators are standing by.
Ready? Ring, ring. Oh, look at that. She's got the phone. She's got the phone. Of course. Ring, 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 ring.
We're ready.
Hey, I want to write a book, but I don't like to write. Help me. Help me. Cathy?
Okay, that would definitely be
that would be Cathy,
because Allie actually likes to write. I don't. Well, I just think it's hard work. So, but the point is, you can still write. You just need to think of it in terms of what is the reader want to know. What's the question that your reader has about this aspect of your topic? And then just answer the question. We all have those basic skills of being able to help another person. And that's what we're really tapping into here. So it's not thinking about how much you like or don't like writing, because you don't have to like writing to actually be a writer. So let me just say that very clearly.
Excellent.
Even if you like writing, you're not going to like it every day. Good, trust me.
All right, I'm calling again. Ring, 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 ring. Let's see. Let's see. I already had this one. Allie, this one's for you.
Oh.
I don't know the whole book yet. Help me.
Okay. I feel like I can't do the whole thing with the phone next to my face, but
No, it's okay.
Prop used, we're all set. You don't have to know the whole thing. You only need to know the next piece. Sometimes it's just the next chunk. That's especially true of fiction, but it is true of nonfiction, that as long as you've got that basic structure that Cathy was talking about, you just need to know the piece that's calling to you right now. And that's where a lot of writers are like, oh, this chapter is next, and I don't know what I want to say next. when you can write it out of sequence. And if you've got that structure, then you can say, this is the piece that I'm feeling today. And I don't force the one in chapter 13 if the one in chapter 6 is really calling to you. So you do not need to know the whole thing. And actually, I don't think you ever can.
No.
Because you can write all the informational piece, and then you get to those final chapters that are what I call and what we call the so what and now what. Why is this important? What do I do next? You probably won't know the content of those chapters until you've worked all the way through the informational content. So I don't think you need it. I don't think you should assume you know the whole thing. And it especially true in fiction, you need to know there are some basic pieces that, because we coach fiction and nonfiction writers, you need to know some of the pieces, but things will come. It's such an amazing process to be an author that you're not going to come out of this writing process the same person who went into it. And you're going to have new wisdom and new connections and new insights that you'll only get by sitting down and actually writing. There's no shortcut. None.
People do not understand that unexpected benefit of writing a book. That by writing a book, they will discover new things, organize their thoughts differently, approach their brand differently. That is one of the many unexpected benefits of authorship.
Yes.
Now,
I agree.
we only have a few minutes left here, so I want to make good use of this time. And before I forget, I definitely need to tell people about the book again. They can pick up Writer Crisis Hotline on Amazon now, paperback and Kindle, and the Kindle's on that launch price for 99 cents. Now, one of the things I want to make sure to cover here is, what if people need help? Like, what if they're like, they've called the Writer Crisis Hotline, and this is a fantastic book, and they decide, you know what, maybe I need and would welcome a little bit more one-on-one attention or personalized attention. What are their options?
Well, we would love for folks to reach out to us. Now, we have within the book, we have a really wonderful resource page with more checklists and downloadable forms and resources there for folks reading the book. But if you still need more, we welcome folks to reach out to us. We love to do one-on-one coaching. We have a wonderful group coaching program, Pages, and we're revising that and upgrading it. And so there's lots of ways that authors can work with either one of us or both of us through those programs.
Okay. And do you have a website I can direct people to, or an email address? What would anything that would be that I can place on here?
Well, yeah, let's go to Cathy at cathyfyock.com. That's my email, and send me a note, and then I can direct it to Allie if need be.
There's Allie at alliepleiter.com, but all the information about the coaching program really is at Cathy's website. And there are quite a few choices that you can go, full in one-on-one coaching if you really want to hit it hard, or there's group coaching. There's a lot of different ways for you to get that sort of missing accountability piece. That the book is great. It's all the information, but sometimes you need someone to make you do what you know you need to do.
Yeah.
And we're really good at that.
We're really good.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Cathy and Allie, congrats again on your book. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's going to have some great impact. Thank you again for coming on this live cast as well, and good luck on the rest of this launch and your event tonight. You have this live event tonight that I'm super excited about.
Yes.
Thank you again for coming on, and goodness gracious, here we go. Great to see you both.
Than's, Everett.
It's been fun. Thanks.
All right. Well, everybody, pick up your copy of the book, and it is helpful. No, it doesn't matter what level of a writer you are, how many books you've done, you will find it incredibly helpful. Thanks for joining us here at Ignite Press, and reach out to us at ignitepress.us if we can help you with your book. Take care, and God bless.